Okay, today's topic is, where should I publish my academic articles? Scholarly Communication Workshop. I'm Bob Clapthor, the UTEP Science Librarian. Now, why does it matter where you publish? One, it helps improve the visibility for your research. If you publish somewhere that is an indexed, a journal that isn't looked at much, your research is just sitting out there. Nobody knows about it. This helps build your academic reputation, especially outside of UTEP. You look at this for tenure and promotion and evaluation. And another thing is, if you're applying for any big grants, granting agencies consider this as one of the factors. They look at where have you published your prior research, what was your research in, were these reputable journals, were these predatory publishers? They consider this as part of the application. They have to pass judgment, and these are people usually who don't know you. Okay, so they look at this. So a lot of it does come down to this whole visibility and academic reputation. Okay, now how do you choose a journal? That gets actually sort of tricky. One, you should look at where you have published before. Presumably, they liked what you did before and they accepted it. Okay, it means two things. They both like what you are doing, the quality of your research, and your topic. Okay. Another way is to ask other faculty. Remember, many faculty, not only do you have faculty who do research in similar areas to you, so they have some ideas of where to publish, but many of them also do some editing work for journals in your field. And as you become more established, you will probably end up doing some editing work for journals. Okay. Now, my biggie, this is my biggie. One of them, make sure the journal is indexed in your discipline's major indexes. Okay. Because that's like a red flag. If it hasn't even been accepted, if you're in education and you're doing sort of specifically educational research and Eric doesn't index your journal, that's a huge red flag. Okay. Now, there is the case of newer publications. In the case of newer publications, they've just come out the last couple of years. They might not yet be indexed. Okay. You know, if it's from Nature or Elsevier, yes. But for a lot of publishers, no, it takes journal to be out there a couple of years before it gets indexed. But for newer publications, the best thing is check the other journals that the publisher publishes. See if their more established journals are indexed in the major indexes in your field. Okay? Take a look at that. Librarians can help you with this also. Okay? Now, another thing is look at, from the prior research you have done, look at what journals you cited while you were doing your research. When you did subject searches while preparing your research topic and developing it, look at what journals you ran into. What were the common ones? This is really useful, especially for any sort of interdisciplinary research topic. If you're doing something like on environmental economics, it really matters what you have to find out what your potential audience is. Environmental economics, okay, now my particular thing, you have to see, oh, is it more of interest to environmental scientists? Is it more like evolutionary biologists or something? Is it more useful to engineers? For people in the APA? Is it more useful perhaps to business people? Okay, what is the trend I'm taking? Look at those citations. And we'll get back another way you can do that. Okay. Now, an issue comes up. when you're looking and you run into, well, there's society publications, and then there's big academic publications, Wiley, Springer, Elsevier, Nature. But then there's a wide number of open access publications, okay? And you run into the question of open access versus self-archiving. What is the difference? Okay, open access publications, such as those in PLOS, the Public Library of Science, etc., make your research available to all researchers. No subscriptions are required. Okay, note that. You don't have to have, they don't have to have subscriptions. You don't have to have subscriptions. Your library, the libraries don't have to have subscriptions. Okay, it is available to anyone. Now, a good collection of them is in the Directory of Open Access Journals. Now, open access journals quite often will involve some page charges, okay? They do have some costs, even with online only, they still have some costs. Now, you should beware of predatory journals, and we actually did Angela did a presentation on predatory publishing, okay? Now, some major academic publishers, such as Elsevier, allow you to pay a page charge to them to make your articles to be open access on their website, okay? In Science Direct, in Scopus. So you can pay Elsevier for that article to make it open access to any researcher who wants to look at it. So that's another option, okay? Now you should make sure it's a refereed journal. One of the better ways to get around this problem of predatory publishers, and I certainly have people who contact me who are like usually four fellas, and two of them have some subject background, and one of them was a literature major and one was a business major, and they have an IT guy in there, and they're putting up an online journal, and they think, oh, hey, there's a bunch of money to be made in academia because I can put up an online journal and charge everybody, like $500 an article, and then I can sell it back to their libraries for $200 subscriptions per subject area and have a whole bunch of subject areas. And I've had them where they approach me and they already have nothing published yet, but they already have like 15 different disciplines they're going to be coming up with articles for. Okay. A real quick check. See if it's refereed. See if it's indexed somewhere. Okay. Refereed means, how are they doing the process of article acceptance? Is it just a couple people associated with the journal are doing editors, and they'll pull in a few academics, which isn't really getting true refereeing because they're sort of accepting most of the articles. But sometimes they won't tell you this, how they are doing refereeing, or what their acceptance rate is. Okay. They aren't telling you if they send it out for peer review. You want to publish places that send the articles out for peer review. Okay. Also, check to see if it's indexed. That journal's not indexed in the big indexes, and it's been around a while. That's a huge red flag. Okay. Go and look somewhere else to publish. Now, what is self-archiving? Okay, self-archiving is when a journal allows you to have a copy of your research article available in some sort of open access resource. Okay. Now, that can be at your library, at your university, you can put it on ResearchGate, you can put it on your own website. Okay. Their policy will be indicated in the copyright agreement you sign with them. And it's an important way, if you can, not all societies allow you to do this, okay? Most of the publishers have come around. Once we accept your article, you can either put a copy of your final PDF, author PDF, or and some of them tell you instead, no, we will let you put up a free link to our website. Okay, they vary a little bit in that. Look at the copyright agreement. It's important in that it helps you make your research more visible, more readily available. Nowadays, you have your web page. You'll put up a web page on ResearchGate. You'll put it up on 3 or 4 others, some society networking. You're doing a lot of online groups you're joining. It's very nice if you can actually put your research on the site. Okay? So this is an important consideration when you're looking for somewhere to publish. Now, UTEP offers self-archiving, a couple different formats. One is the UTEP library offers the UTEP Digital Commons as an option. At UTEP, you'll be setting up your own personal UTEP web page. You'll have access to. Very nice if you can put your articles up there. So you can not only describe what your research interests are, your instructional interests, but you can actually provide copies of your articles on your UTEP webpage. You can put your articles then on Blackboard for your students to use. And actually, there's these latter two, Blackboard. Similar to that, the UTEP library offers an electronic reserve facility for your class, used by classes. That you can usually put articles up in some fashion. On Blackboard, your articles for sure. You have to look at the copyright issues, and the library can help you for other articles. Same thing for electronic reserves. We actually go and look up things if you want to go outside of your articles and have other articles on electronic reserve. But those are some quick places. You do self-archiving at UTEP. Now, a good place to find self-archiving publisher policies listed by publisher is the Sherpa Romeo site. And this website lists the archiving copyright policies for thousands of academic journals and publishers. So you can actually check to see, okay, I'm looking at Elsevier versus the American Chemical Society. And you can check to see what the respective policies are. And remember, always remember to check the publisher's copyright agreement that you sign. That's what really matters to you, okay? That's a legal agreement with some teeth in it. Now, how can you measure journal quality? That ends up being a good question. There are several different statistical measures called bibliometric measures. One common one is impact factor. You're looking at over a 2-year or 5-year period. You're looking at recent journal articles, the average article, taking a whole journal and looking at, of all the articles published like 2 years ago in that publication, how many times have they been cited on average? And for something like a Nature publication, it might be like 25 or 30. For something in zoology, it might be 2 or 3. Okay? Now, they differ widely by discipline, they differ by research specialty. Now, many journals will list and advertise their impact factor. They have probably used whatever looks best for them, whether they got that from Elsevier, from journal citation reports, from the Google, whether they have some setup where they have managed to get their own collection. So you take them with a little grain of salt. But remember, they differ widely by discipline and by research specialty. Now, you will find variations on the impact factor that are used by Elsevier and other publishers, but overall, they typically give you an indication on average of how often a recent article in the publication is cited by other articles. Okay? Now, one that's been getting more attention lately, it's called the H-index. It's one variation. You used to only run across it with respect to individuals. It was if I published let's say 25 articles, and 12 of those had been cited at least 12 times. My H index was 12, okay? Now, the journal H index is a similar variation, even though usually they'll put some year limitation on it to do recent articles. So you'll find a journal H index of 14, of 20, of 200 in case of Nature publications. So that varies widely, and there's a lot of debate, but you will find it listed. Now, a good place to find these, we subscribe to Journal Citation Reports. This is based on the data of the Web of Science, otherwise known as the Web of Knowledge. Indexes just short of 13,000 publications from social sciences, humanities, science, engineering, and health sciences. Okay? It's not just STEM. All right? You can sort or group the journals by over 230 research specialties. Now, along with the regular citation analysis like impact factors, H factors, they also include something called eigenvalue as a rating option. And that's a specialty sort of factor. Usually what you do is you group of journals, a group of zoology journals, and you find, okay, the most recently things cited. Now, one thing to remember, if a journal is indexed in Journal Citation Reports, this is already a well-accepted publication, okay? So there you're talking about relative quality of the journal. What an eigenvalue does is it links journals it values them according to how many other journals, the variety of different journals that index articles from their publications. So like in zoology, there's a journal we subscribe to, Zootaxa. Now, if you look at their impact factor, it's usually a little bit under 1, and down in the middle of the zoology list. But you look at eigenvalue, and it's right at the top of the zoology list. That's because Zootaxa is the go-to place to do taxonomic analysis via DNA analysis of new species, well, of species in general. If you have a new species or something that doesn't have a DNA analysis, and you go and do a full DNA analysis. We have a couple of researchers here that specialize in that. And then the thing is, now it's in zoology, the articles are highly, highly specific. So I wouldn't expect there to be a lot of impact factor citations to an individual article, okay? But the thing is, the data they have is so unique, what they are doing in Zootaxa, that it gets used across the whole field of zoology and even outside of the field of zoology, okay? And so it ends up having a high, it's the #1 zoology title if you rank them by eigenvalue. Eigenvalue calculates this difficult metrics of this network of journals that do it. Now, JCR allows you to compare publications within a research area, and you can find which journals are cited the most frequently, and thus, at least statistically, are probably looked at the most widely. Okay? Now, Elsevier's journal metrics and site score metrics, they're updated annually. They're available, freely available in various formats, most notably including PDF. They include journal impact factor, journal age factor, several similar factors that Elsevier calculates. Now, it is a larger collection of journals based on the Scopus database for extensive bibliometric data in terms of having sort of high quality bibliometric data. We analyze every article from the journals in this collection. Now, the Google Scholar Metrics publishes a more selective collection of journals at the moment. The publisher parish website, put up a Harging.com website, also allows you to obtain some journal data from Google Scholar. So it'll go deeper into Google Scholar than the Google Scholar metrics collection. Now, a unique thing that some researchers run into. What if I have an even more specialized interdisciplinary research project to publish? Okay, done something very specialized but interdisciplinary. Now, this can be a tricky problem since you have to find a journal appropriate that will accept this publication. Okay, but you also want to be sure other researchers doing similar research will find your publication. So if you're doing something with some sort of science topic but economics, you want to figure out, do I publish in an economics journal? But then it'll be indexed just that the business and economics people will find it. Or do I want to publish it in like an environmental engineering journal and engineers will find it, but I'm not even sure environmental people will find it and economists might not find it at all. Okay. Now, one thing is to search your narrow topic in a major discipline database. That can help you locate some journals. But how to rank the articles, how to rank the journals, that becomes pretty difficult then, okay, in a lot of discipline databases. Now, you also look at the articles you made reference to while doing this research project. That may give you some ideas. You note, oh, wait, I was really looking at a lot of economics journals. Okay, I can publish it in one of these titles. Now, another solution to this, especially if this is a new project for you, search your topic in the Web of Science database. You can get very, very specific. Then there's a link in the upper right-hand side of your search results where you can do a citation analysis on that topic. So you do a search, you get 3,000 articles, okay? But then you do a citation analysis. It will rank the articles by how often they were cited, okay? You also find that most articles don't get cited more than once, or certainly twice. So rank the articles by citation frequency. Now I tell you, okay, these are the most heavily cited articles relating to this topic, but it also tells you what journals they published in. And that can give you a really good idea. Oh, maybe some journal you never would have thought of because it's outside of your specialty that you normally keep up with, okay? This can be a good way to limit. So we've covered a number of things. The question is where to publish. Visibility for your research is your key, okay? Quality of the journal matters. Tenure committees look at this sort of information. Grant agencies look at this data. Quality of the journal matters. Open access options versus self-archiving. They both can be very valuable to making your research more available and more accessible. Remember, there are quantitative measurements of journal quality, okay? Now, they do have their issues that they differ widely by discipline, okay, and even within the discipline. Some sources for those metrics: journal citation reports, Elsevier, Cite Metrics, and Google Scholar. And most of all, remember, there are no perfect answers to these questions, okay? And there can be substantial variations even within a discipline. And over time, you will develop relationships with journals. And you may well go from publishing with some smaller journal or some more regional society. You may well go to publishing for the major society or the major journals in your discipline as your career goes on. So thank you for being here today, and we will sign off now since I don't think I have any questions for myself. Okay? Okay.